So Australia has announced their squad going into the Pacific Championships in 2023. I'm going to go through the full squad list and then talk about a few key players that I want to highlight. So without further ado, let's get started on the full list that they've announced. The Australia squad includes Patrick Carrigan, Daly Cherry-Evans, Selwyn Cobbo, Lindsay Collins, Reuben Cotter, Dylan Edwards, Tino Malawi, Thomas Flegler, Harry Grant, Payne Haas, Valentine Holmes, Ben Hunt, Nico Hines, Liam Martin, Cameron Munster, Cameron Murray, Kotoni Staggs, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, James Tedesco, Jake Trbojevic, and Isaiah Yeo. The first player that I wanted to kind of highlight was Thomas Flegler. Now, I'm going to go down a slightly negative route with this one, but hopefully you realise that it's somewhat justified in what I'm going to say. Now, of course, he's absolutely earned the right to be there. I think he's been exceptional this year. My only issue with him is I think he's just a little bit too hot-headed, and that could be an issue in key moments. Now, I think the Australia squad is stacked, completely stacked, and they should be able to control any game most of the time. I'm just thinking there's always going to be a time where the best team in an international competition or the best team even in a league situation has a slight off day. There's a team that's decent, that's challenging, and someone does something stupid. I think he's that kind of player that might do that. I just think he's got that potential to start a fight from nothing, and that's going to be the key issue. I kind of mentioned it for when I was talking about the New Zealand squad from the Rugby League World Cup. I was talking about Jared Warrior-Hargreaves. When he had a suspension, he was out for the rest of the tournament. I thought that's a positive for them, because the last thing you want when there's 5-10 minutes to go, you need to be as clinical as possible. You've got really good field position. The last thing you need is someone making a stupid mistake where it's just starting a fight where it's not needed. Thomas Flegler has absolutely earned the right to be there, as I said, and he makes incredible meters through the middle. He gets plenty of offloads off as well, and defensively I think he looks fine. My only issue is he going to be calm and composed enough in key moments for Australia? And you might be thinking, it doesn't matter because they'll be fine anyway. There's always the possibility that Australia are going to be just a little bit slow out the gates, and that when there's a few new players in there, they're not going to necessarily gel straight away. As professional as they are, and as much better as they are than other nations, there's always going to be a game at some point. And people might not be treating this game that highly, but I'm just thinking on that only negative aspect of his game, when you need someone to be a bit more calm and behave as a leader, that's my only question mark there with Thomas Flegler. But as I said, completely earned the right to be there. He's an absolute powerhouse through the middle, and I'm excited to see him play. The next player I want to talk about is Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. Now, I do think he certainly offers a lot for this Australia team. Not only could he absolutely start the fullback position, it's understandable if Dylan Edwards does or James Tedesco, but you can play him in centre if you absolutely have to, and you can also play him on the wing. So that versatility is huge. Not only that, he's not kind of like, oh, he is a fullback but could play centre if needed or could play on the wing. He can do all of those jobs to an insane degree. He can perform at an extremely high level in all three of those positions, and that kind of versatility is underrated a lot in rugby league. Sometimes, we rate players that are excellent in one position, like Nathan Cleary as a number 7, or Cameron Munster as a number 6, rightfully so, but I think the appreciation that players get that have to move around a lot is underrated. And Tabuai-Fidow, I think, given the squad that's here, is probably going to get moved around a fair bit, because they'll need to change things around at fullback from time to time, even though Edwards and Tedesco might take 100%, like joint together, 100% of the number 1 jerseys. Tabuai-Fidow could probably feature a fair few times at centre and on the wing as well. So I think his acceleration is going to certainly catch defences out. It's going to catch out Samoa and New Zealand if they're not really on it. And if he's making those runs around the outside, and even those steps that he has through the middle that we saw, especially in the first few months of the NRL season with the Dolphins, teams are going to struggle. If their communication is not on point, Tabuai-Fidow is going to find gaps, he's going to make gaps himself, and he's going to exploit defences time and time and time again. Very underrated player. We know he's a quality player and people talk about that, but overall, I'd say very underrated. The final player that I want to highlight is Cameron Munster. Now, with Melbourne Storm, it hasn't actually been a great season. Like, on the face of it, they finished third in the regular season, and you think, well, how's it not been a great season? I think you can kind of tell for their expectations, it's not been particularly exciting. Melbourne Storm have had a lot of holes in their team throughout the course of the season. They've had their ups and downs. It's never been consistently great at any point. It's never been consistently awful either, but for Melbourne Storm, it's been below expectations. I think most people can agree with that. With Cameron Munster, he's such a talented individual. For me, I rate him as the best number 6 in the NRL. Because whenever I say that, there's not many others that come to mind that I think would challenge him. There's going to be some here and there, but for me, he is the best number 6 in the NRL. And when it comes to the international stage, a lot of teams just don't know how to deal with him. Because he has a lot of tricks in his bag, and he can pull them out at any given time. Whether it's, an early kick in the tackle count that puts teams under pressure, whether it's a kick into the in-goal area, whether it's a step. Whatever you need from him, he can provide it. He just does things a little bit differently. So he's not, your conventional, boring player. He can do whatever you need him to do. And I think one thing that goes unnoticed, I think, is his work rate. Because there's been plenty of times he gets banged up a lot. There's a bit of a head knock, or he's limping, or he's got a bit of a thing with his shoulder. I feel like I see him getting a knock somewhere every single week, and he's still just chipping away and still working hard. His work rate in defence, I think, is very underrated. It's not something to, grab headlines, but he does get a lot of production in the defensive side of the ball, which just isn't really talked about. So I think he is one of those players that leads by example. I don't really see him talking too much in that leadership aspect, but it's just by example. And I think it's been unfortunate how things have gone for Melbourne Storm, but going into this stage now, I'm excited to see what he does, because when he's at his best, he's unstoppable. He's an excellent player and is so fun to watch. So I'm certainly looking forward to seeing him during this championship. So that is going to be it for this video. If you have any thoughts on who you would have liked to have seen in this squad, who maybe shouldn't have made it. I know the main conversation at the moment has been, why is Tedesco there? I know Dylan Edwards wasn't initially in the squad. He's replaced Josh Adokar. Some people are asking, where's Reece Walsh? I don't know. I didn't make the list. But I would agree with you that Reece Walsh probably should have been in there with Dylan Edwards. That made complete sense to me. So if you have any opinions, do let me know. But thank you very much for watching this video. Feel free to like and subscribe to stay up to date with new content. But that's going to be it from me, and I'll see you next time.